can definitely start. Okay,
up there and
I'd like to introduce David Baggs, who's the CEO of Global GreenTag. David's kindly accepted our invitation to introduce us to the Global GreenTag world. I've explained to David that a big part of writing specifications is providing detailed descriptions of building materials, either generically or proprietary items. We maintain a database of descriptions and can offer alternative selections to project architects. We find project architects are now frequently needing to preferentially select products that achieve project sustainability targets. And we don't know how best to access and provide that information. Can I just ask someone to mute? There's some background traffic noise. Okay, thanks. So it's bewildering to us, the many different labeling and rating schemes, the different sustainability attributes of material, the human and environmental costs, and the different stages in the life of a product that needs to be considered, from extraction to manufacturing and delivery through to maintenance and reuse. So Global GreenTag seems to offer a one-stop shop that brings all of that data and comparative aspects to a level table where making a selection can be simplified. For me, it'd be great to know how every material ranks from a sustainability perspective. And it might be something that we can use to bring value to all our projects. So enough said, I'll hand over to David to see if Global GreenTag can achieve that for us. Thanks, David.
Thanks, John. Can everyone hear me okay? Yep, great. So let me just share the screen.
Okay, we can see that.
Okay, great, fantastic. Well, I'm not sure if you're aware, but actually I am an architect of over 40 years. I've been working in the green building sector my entire life, and the work that we do comes out of an understanding about what architecture and what the industry needs to be able to support its integration with both, just sustainability and health focuses in general, but also the ability to integrate and deliver rating, green rated projects. I make the point up front before we start, as you probably already know this is a complex field and there's lots of little bits and moving parts, and even as recently as yesterday, they've given us the new release date for the next round of the Green Star changes, what they're calling Green Star Future Focus. But the overarching question that actually, sort of drives what we do is, what is it that people who want to deliver green outcomes, professionals who want to deliver green outcomes, or even homeowners for that matter, want to deliver green and healthy outcomes, what do they need to be able to help them choose products and specify them in a way that means they get what they want? So, in answering the question about what do you need, again, the overarch is kind of, well, you want to be able to trust what you read. You don't want to be dealing with manufacturers who use greenwash to describe their products. So any product that you see or come across that claims to be an environmentally friendly product or an eco product or a green product is engaging in greenwash. And unfortunately, that's a reality that we're presented with literally every day. But what we need to be able to deliver for you is information you can trust. That means you don't have to do your own research. So at times it saves time, reduces your risk, reduces cost of processing and doing the comparisons, enables you to compare products, provides you the evidence that you need for the submitting to green building rating tools, and helps you understand what you're reading. It helps you understand the product better, enables you to engage with your clients in a knowledgeable way, and you know, as a consequence, enhances the way your reputation precedes you, and you know, helps you interact with projects and clients in a way that helps you, you know, your standing in the industry. At a project level, you are looking for products that have the certification by a recognized third party. Often you're looking for life cycle assessment data because the projects are looking to do life cycle analysis to reduce their environmental footprints. And to do that, you might be looking for environmental product declarations, different kinds of transparency declarations, and particularly in your case, looking for metrics that you might be able to use in tenders, or specifications that you might be able to use in tenders relating to products where you're not able to mention brand names. So we set out to do all of that and to deliver that for you. It's 10 years ago now that GreenTag was introduced, and in that time we've now, for the last 4 years, been one of the top most 100 trusted brands in the country. We've won multiple national and state awards, and as recently as last year, we actually a market research survey called Living LOHAS, that's Living Lifestyles of Health and Sustainability, a consumer market research report put us in the top 10 most recognized eco-labels in the consumer sector. And that includes brands like Planet Ark and Greenpeace and Certified Organics and Fair Trade. So, you know, that's in 10 years, that's a huge achievement that we're very proud of. And we've done that by being the most externally certified and verified certifier. So, you know, when we started out life in the 10 years before the last 10 years, we were eco-specifier. And people used to say to us when we introduced eco-specifier, yeah, but you're checking the manufacturers, but who checks you? And so when we were convinced to start certifying products, we decided that that was the way that we would differentiate ourselves. We would submit ourselves to external certification. We would have a certified quality management system. We would be externally verified to the Type 1 Eco-Label standard ISO 14024. We would be verified to the conformity assessment body standard 17065. And we have external verifications by DNV. So those kinds of, we were also the first certification mark approved by the ACCC in Australia in the sector. We certify well over 10,000 SKUs for 120 manufacturers with manufacturing facilities in more than 22 countries. So, you know, it's a substantial scope of product. I will say that the majority of products are in the interiors rather than, you know, construction sorts of products. That's more a reflection of where the credit points are. The most of the credit points are in the rating tools, but nonetheless, there is a good depth of construction and even infrastructure products, because the rating tools that are active, most active in Australia, are Green Star, then then probably the infrastructure sustainability rating tool. There's well over $100 billion worth of projects rolling through that tool at the moment. It's quite amazing. We're told that about 9% of Green Star projects actually also use LEED in Australia. And EarthCheck is another one in the tourist, hospitality and transport sector. So all of these rating tools have different levels of penetration in different countries. And at a global level, GreenTag's certifications and declarations are recognized by the majority of the major rating tools globally. And we are literally the only certification company in the world that can give you all, or give a manufacturer all of the relevance to these rating tools under one roof with a one set of data. You can already see how many rating tools there are. As we go further out into the world, there are more again, because they then start breaking down into country-specific tools like MyHijau in Malaysia and Singapore Green Mark and BAM in Hong Kong and Lotus in Vietnam. There's lots of country-specific rating tools around that we're recognized in as well. But the problem really in terms of complexity is not just the rating tools, it's the credits within the rating tools. And each of the different kinds of credits has different prerequisites, and we've developed certifications and transparency declarations that reflect the needs of the rating tools. So this is what our family of certifications look like. We have our GreenTag standards that are in the building, infrastructure, and interiors, but also cleaning and personal products categories as well. So for things like building amenities and washrooms and sanitary paper certification for the operations rating tools, we certify in those sectors as well. Now, the important thing to sort of focus on here is there are two basic colorations in this sort of family tree. We have those that have a dark green background and those that have a white background. Those with a dark green background are recognized rating tool services. Those with the white background are typically aimed at end user marketing claims. So manufacturers can make statements and claims about their products directly to end users where projects may be interested in health outcomes or climate outcomes or specific sort of recycled content or low VOC type claims where there are no rating tools involved in the projects. So the first of the systems that we have is our Green Rate certification system. Then on the right, you can see LCA rate. Then underneath that, product health declarations, environmental product declarations. To the left, best environmental practice PVC verification. And all of those are recognized in the various rating tools. Below that, again, we have health rate, which is a healthiness in use rating for products, which is not recognized by rating tools as of yet. It may well be in future, but it's not currently. And then we have carbon rate, which is a comparative carbon content claim. We'll look at all of these individually in a minute, but just to give you sort of the layout of the land, the manufacturer claim verifications can relate to specific individual claims that the manufacturer might want to make with third-party support. And as I said before, that might include something like, low VOC or ultra low VOC or certain percentage of post-recycled consumer content, but whatever. Ultimately, we're providing within the manufacturer claim verifications process the ability for a manufacturer to make claims with a third party's backing, so that it's perceived as robust and not being greenwash. We are broadly able to divide all of the rating tools and all of the credits into sort of four main categories with a couple of subcategories. And the first of them being indoor environment quality, particularly volatile organic compounds. And our Green Rate and LCA rate and product health declarations are recognized in all the various rating tools for those credits. There are specific credits that require recognised third-party product certification, and both our green rate and LCA rate certifications are recognised in various rating tools. There's a life cycle impact minimization, which typically is about, reducing the life cycle impact of the project by 20 or 30%, compared to a benchmark set of specifications. And for that, obviously, you need life cycle analysis product level information, which is what an environmental product declaration provides. And then there are different material health criteria where our product health declarations come into recognition and play. So within the material health categories, there are typically two sort of subcategories within material health. One gives credit for transparently reporting ingredient hazards. That is, the health hazards and environmental hazards attached to the ingredients of the product. And then the second type of credit gives recognition for products that reduce or eliminate, that eliminate specific types and categories of hazardous ingredients from products and transparently show that. So, in all of the rating tools, the materials products currently fit into one or other of those 4 or 5 different categories of responses. Now, if you want to be able to sort of increase the granulation of this, we have this matrix which is published on our website and in our brochures, which shows you on the left-hand side the different rating tool. In the second column, it shows you the category of credit and what the subject matter of the credit is. And then on the right-hand side, the matrix shows which certification or transparency declaration is recognized by that rating tool and that credit to deliver the evidence that you would need to submit in specifying that product. So, when you get to a point where you might be wanting to specify a particular product because the architects have told you they're relying on the credit points that product will be able to generate for the project, for instance, in a Green Star tool, and they're saying, look, we want to go for the sustainable product certification credit in Green Star, then looking up this matrix, second row from the bottom, Green Star Sustainable Product Eco-Label Certification, the certificate that you would be looking for would be a green rate certificate. If you were in well and you were looking at enhanced material safety, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows up from the bottom, you would see that either a green rate or an LCA rate or a PhD would actually suffice from a certificate point of view, submitted as evidence or included in a specification as a prerequisite for a product to meet the specification. John, we didn't kind of organise this up front. Do you want to always stop and wait for questions along the way, or would you prefer to handle them at the end? How would you want to play? I'm happy either way.
Well, since we paused, let's just see if there are any other questions at this stage, and then carry on.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyone?
I've got one question. So with your product certifications, do you guys also assess in terms of like after installation impacts, like when it comes to maintenance and what that entails in terms of carbon output or whatever it is? Do you guys do that assessment as well?
Within our LCA rate process, yes.
Okay.
I'm just about to drop into what each of the certifications is and does and how it works. So we'll kind of be coming to that just now. But the short answer is, to do that kind of analysis, you need life cycle analysis.
Yeah.
And the certifications that Green Star requires for the certified products credit does not include life cycle analysis. So we kind of had to develop a system, a certification system specifically for Green Rate, specifically for Green Star, and that turned out to be Green Rate, and it's not life cycle analysis based. In fact, it's not, in a sense, it's not materiality based at all, but LCA Rate is, and that's why, from my point of view, LCA Rate is probably the best sustainability rating system in the world. And I'm not saying that from a biased point of view. It is the most comprehensive system on the planet, and you'll see why in a minute.
Can I just ask a question? I don't see in the left-hand column, I don't see IS rating system.
The bottom line.
Oh yeah, sorry.
And the third line down.
I wasn't looking close enough. Thanks.
Yeah.
Because I'm involved in a project at the moment, which is using the ISCA rating tool.
Right. So basically, for ISCA, you are really going to probably be focusing on the Green Rate certification process for the Sustainable Product Eco-Label certification. Or looking for an EN 15004 environmental product declaration registered with the Australasian Eco-Label, International Australasian Eco-Labels program. So we're just, anyway, I'll get into that as we go through the EPD process. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but basically, John, we do integrate with ISCA at an EPD level, but it's only a relatively new thing that we've decided to do, ISCA qualifying EPDs. So you literally at this stage won't find any of our EPDs that are ISCA compliant, but everything that's Green Rate certified is ISCA compliant at the Eco-Label certification credit level.
Okay, thanks.
Let's move on. So, as I said before, we literally developed Green Rate to comply with the Green Star Eco-Label recognition system. We already developed LCA Rate. We're just about to launch it when they launched their own product recognition scheme, and we didn't think LCA Rate really met the criteria. Because they were so precise. Well, don't worry about the whys. We've since realised that that's actually not the case, and we probably could have got LCA Rate recognised because we've had it recognised, our product, our personal cleaning product standards recognised by it. But in the end, we chose to develop a non-LCA based system for the Green Star tool. So in developing Green Rate, we developed it to meet both level A and level B and level C levels in the rating tool. So that's 100%, 75% and 50% for levels A, B and C respectively. And in doing so, what we did was we actually reverse engineered the entire Green Star recognition system. And in doing that, we ended up with 44 different Green Rate schemes that were recognised to level A, B and C. We had 27 level A schemes, we had 8 level B schemes and 8 level C schemes. Now, the reason we did this is to make sure that we could get the manufacturer as close to getting certified based on their existing work they'd already done, and this enables us to, reduce the amount of work that a manufacturer has to do to get certified while still staying within the Green Star compliance process. Now, you can actually see on the left-hand side the sorts of criteria that are involved in assessment of green rate. So you can see we've got greenhouse gas accounting, we've got red light toxicity, we've got no issues of concern comments, which relates to the levels of some of the hazards that might be in a product. We've got data collection, we've got benchmark achievements under resource options like recycled content, reused content, and that sort of thing. We've got water use accounting, we've got legal compliance requirements, so fitness for purpose assessment. Basically, it's a prerequisite for every system that we do. The product must be legally compliant and have the testing requirement by the BCA. Compliance supply chain, public reporting, the fact that we check their environmental claims to make sure that everything they're saying about the product on their websites or in their brochures is actually true. Whether they have compliance with SA 8000 or ISO 26000, which are the environment, health and safety and social compliance standards for labour. Then you've got fitness for purpose, whether replacement parts are available, whether they have a product stewardship program, verification of that program, whether the product's designed for disassembly or not, and its VOC emissions. So all of these schemes are recognised. Level A and Level B schemes are recognised by Green Star. The Level C schemes are not recognised by Green Star, but Level C8 is compliant with Green Star for VOC emissions. So I've misspoken then. Our Level C schemes are recognised by Green Star, but they're not recognised for the VOC emissions criteria, except for for item C8, because you can see on that bottom line, the only Level C scheme that requires VOC emissions is C8. So levels A, B, and C are all recognised by Green Star. They're just not recognised. The Level C ones are not recognised for VOC emissions. So LCA rate. LCA rate is unique in the world, as I said before. It's a comparative life cycle analysis, or actually a beyond LCA rating tool, where for instance, certify a category of, like, say, flooring, we do an industry-wide assessment and determine what the worst-case business as usual solution that commonly is available in the market that performs the same function. And we do a life cycle analysis and beyond LCA analysis of that product. And then every other flooring that we assess is compared against that benchmark product. So LCA rate allows a valid scientific comparison between products of a dissimilar material as long as they perform the same function. So you can actually, with LCA rate, ask the question, what's the most sustainable flooring? And get a scientifically valid answer, because it's whole of life. It includes the life cycle and health impacts from raw material extraction through manufacturing and packaging and transport, including cleaning, maintenance, replacement schedules, and end-of-life fate. So answering that question from before, LCA rate does do the whole of life cleaning and maintenance, and it's particularly important in a category like flooring, because with some types of flooring, notably carpets, the major life cycle impacts over the life of the product are actually in the cleaning. So we use the manufacturer's stated cleaning schedule requirements to model in LCA rate, and that enables you to look at an LCA rate rating, whether it's a bronze, silver, gold, or platinum rating, and understand where that product sits whole of life as a sustainable product. Now, the thing about LCA rate is it has some common sections with green rate. So greenhouse emissions, the toxicity, water use accounting, social and environmental requirements, so compliant supply chain requirements, they're all common along with VOCs with green rate. The difference is that LCA rate uses fully detailed life cycle analysis, which is whole of life. The important thing about LCA rate is it actually generates real metrics. As part of the process, you actually get an ISO compliant greenhouse gas score for the product in CO2 equivalents per square meter, say in this case for a flooring, and you are able to compare that number with all other LCA rate certified products or all other products, where there is an ISO compliant EPD, which includes the end of the final three life cycle modules, which are cleaning, maintenance, and end of life fate. This comparative life cycle analysis process also generates the carbon rate label optioning, which I'll get to in a minute. The important thing, though, about LCA rate, as you can see from the scorecard there, is there are actually other metrics that it generates as well. So when we do the benchmark analysis for the sort of the benchmark product, we normalize the score for that product to a score of +1, and 0 being neutral impact and -1 being effectively net positive, because you're taking away existing impacts from the environment. So you're actually, the product is doing better for the environment by being manufactured, because, say, for instance, it might be offsetting more of its energy than it's actually requiring, or it might be doing biodiversity impacts as well, biodiversity offsets to generate its carbon credits, but it's also therefore generating biodiversity benefits at the same time. Now, as you can see at the top here, there are 6 sustainability assessment criteria. The first one being building synergy, health and ecotoxicity, biodiversity, life cycle analysis, greenhouse gas impacts, and social responsibility. And the numbers that you can see down the right-hand side are the scores as normalized against the benchmark product. So at the top, the building synergy score of 0.15, that tells you that it's 85% better than the business as usual case. The health and toxicity score of 0.25 is showing you that it's 75% more healthy and less ecotoxic than the benchmark products. Likewise with the other scores. A greenhouse gas score in that instance, 75% better with a score of 0.25. To get to the GreenTag Eco Point that you can see on the top of the tag there, we actually weight those individual scores and add them up. And the GreenTag Eco Point is a single number that represents a weighted average of all of those scores. And it's what we use to attribute the bronze, silver, gold, or platinum levels. So a GreenTag Eco Point of 0.12 is platinum. So the GreenTag Eco Point has to be below 0.15 for a platinum certified product. we literally only have 3 platinum certified products in the entire system, and 2 of them are actually manufactured products. One of them is actually literally just kiln dried timber, because it's a very tough level to achieve. The one thing I'd point out to you here is the building synergy score. You've probably not heard that term before, and it's important because building synergy is when an integrative design process is being undertaken by the design team. Building synergy is what they're looking for. They're looking for products which, when combined with design and other elements of the building and systems within the building, put together, deliver benefits beyond just the product's integration benefits. So literally 1 + 1 might equal 4 or 5. And when you find synergistic relationships or products that can generate synergistic relationships in a building, it means that you can enhance sustainability outcomes while reducing costs. Let me give you an example. Let's take an access floor. So, you know, an access floor you might think of as being an expensive item. But when you're looking for synergistic relationships in sustainability, you can't just look at a system in isolation. You have to be using systems analysis and a whole systems approach to look at the benefits of that. So if you're putting in an access floor that you're using as a return air plenum, and to deliver localized air conditioning, for instance, maybe at a desktop level, plus using it for conduiting, you're typically eliminating the ceiling, and you're doing so in a way which is not going to be have as much space under the floor as you potentially would have in a ceiling. So an access floor eliminates return air plenum, return air ducts. It eliminates cable ducting. It potentially reduces building height. In reducing building height, assuming that a developer doesn't capitalize on that and put an extra floor in, which in itself brings economic benefits, but let's just say at this point they reduce the building height to get, you know, below a DA maximum height requirement. It's reducing the load on the building, it's reducing the size of the footings, so it's having this whole flow-on effect. So when we indicate a building, a product has high building synergy, the designers can then look at the product to see how it can be used to drive down building costs and increase sustainability outcomes. I don't know if any of you have picked it yet, but there's a 4-tier sort of green arrow. The further the right the arrow extends, from light green to mid green to dark green to darkest green, the more sustainable a product is. So just by glancing at this, this tag, it's a platinum product with an eco point of 0.12. You can see it's great on building synergy and biodiversity and LCA just by looking at how long the green arrows are. Not so great on social responsibility and okay on health and toxicity. Just glancing at that tells you all of that information, but don't forget you can also use those metrics in a no brand product specification if you wanted to have some additional criteria to include in specs to ensure that the designer gets the product that they want without having to specify a brand. We use the same process for carbon rate. Carbon rate is just a simplification. It uses the exact logo, the exact LCA calculation and benchmark basis that LCA rate does. The logo on the left, and my apologies, I keep forgetting to update these logos. The current carbon rate logo or graphics tag now has the actual kilograms of CO2 engaged in the bottom of the tag. So the one on the left shows a 60% carbon reduction compared to the benchmark product, and there would be a literal, 24.5 grams of CO2 per square meter for the product. Carbon zero, that's pretty straightforward. It'll be 0 kilograms of CO2 emitted because it's been offset, or somehow or other it might be a bio-based product where its energy balance is equal. But when you see products with a carbon credit number where the sort of the circle goes round more than once and you can see a dark green section appearing, it could be 110, it could be 140, 160%. It means it's actually taking existing carbon back out of the atmosphere beyond the energy that it took to manufacture itself. So it's actually literally being carbon positive. Even though carbon positive is a term that I use sparingly, because unfortunately once you get into this field, so many of those words actually can be misunderstood or misinterpreted. So we call it a carbon credit because it's in the positive. Sometimes if you call it carbon positive, people say, well, is it putting carbon in or is it taking carbon out? So, ultimately carbon rate is a single grab to show the carbon levels in a product. The one thing to note is the carbon reduction is compared to the benchmark product. The others are actually comparing against the energy it takes to require manufacturing of that product in its own right.
David, sorry, can I just interrupt?
Yeah.
Just to leave time for questions and before we run out of time, can I ask you to sort of wrap up? I don't know how long you'll take still, but maybe another 5 minutes,
Sure.
just to leave enough time.
Sure.
At the end. Okay. Thanks.
The thing to be aware of with EPDs is whether they're cradle to gate or cradle to end of life fate, and which standard they're produced under, either ISO 14025 or EN 15804. Different rating tools have different requirements. Our product health declarations are recognised in WELL and LEED, and the Green Star Future Focus is increasing its focus on health as well. The product health declaration is literally a simplification. It's a transparency report about ingredients, but in fact, the way we present the information again allows a single indication of how healthy the product is, and includes a health rate tag at the top, which is a rating of how healthy the product is in use in the building, because the way in which the rating tools ask the information to be presented about the toxicity of ingredients, sometimes those actual hazards that they talk about in the ingredients don't exist in the final product because of the chemical reactions that take place during manufacture. So a typical PhD, the front looks like this. There's a different color radar diagrams on the front page. All of the different rating tool credits that are met by the product are on the front page as well. And then the rest of it shows the chemical hazards of each ingredient during the different life cycle stages. So the first is the ingredient. That's the compliant, the ingredient assessment raw is the compliant declaration for the rating tools. But then we look at the whole of life, which typically is worker health and in-use health assessment. And you can see that some of those change from life cycle stage to life cycle stage. And the reason for the changes are explained included in plain English language in the right-hand column. So that's the big difference between what we do and everybody else. We do a risk analysis at each life cycle stage and then explain how it changes from one stage to the other. And then last, in the comments section, we include all of the VOC emissions compliance data. Health rate, as I said before, is a healthiness in use rating of the product addressed at end users. We also now, as of this year, offer an asthmagen assessment. If that becomes important to any of your clients, they can ask the manufacturers to have an asthmagen assessment done as well. We also now connect via API and manual sort of spreadsheet exchanges with a variety of different data hubs in Australia and around the world. This is the new building products rating system put out by the Insurance Council and Edge Environment. We then have origin.build, which is sort of a growing data hub that includes GreenTag and integrates with a whole variety of other systems like Sourced by Delos in the real estate sector, and Mindful Materials that's very active in China and the US, not so much here. Also groups like Ecomedes and Sustainable Minds, where you have EPD and transparency declaration hubs. We're just in the process of finalising a modern slavery declaration, which basically I'll kind of flick through quickly because ultimately it will give the product a variety of simplified scores and be useful for manufacturers to answer inquiries in relation to the federal legislation that I'm sure that everybody's going to end up getting involved in as big groups like Lend-Lease and Stocklands and all the big construction guys start asking manufacturers for evidence of modern slavery declaration so that they can do their mandatory reporting for the federal legislation. And I have no doubt in my mind that groups like yourselves and architects will get involved in having to pre-qualify products, having this kind of information available before they can get used in projects. That's going to take probably a little while to get to that point, but I can already see it happening, and certainly the big construction groups we're talking to are in agreement. There are 10 heads of consideration in the legislation, and we give both an assessment outcome score and a data quality score, and then combine them and give a single rating. In terms of where to go for the information that you might want you to do, where there's a survey process or review process underway that's just being finalised. You can have your say if you choose to. And I just wanted to take a few moments to show you how to use our GreenTag website. It's pretty straightforward. There are 4 ways that you can look for a product. You can use the product finder, which is basically a keyword search. You can use the product category just by pressing on one of the categories that appear on the home page. You can browse by the actual rating tool compliance or the actual certification type that you're looking for, or you can browse by manufacturer alphabetical name. So if you search, if you use a keyword search, say for Belgatex, you not only get the products that we certify from that manufacturer, but you can also see in that search function which of the different certification types or transparency declarations that manufacturer has for each of those products, just for the manufacturer that you search for. If you search just by using, say, the flooring, you'll get the manufacturer, you'll get all flooring manufacturers all coming up within the one search. That might be a benefit, it might not be. But then if you want to just look for an EPD that's certified to a particular EPD standard, you can just go published EPDs and see which standard they've been. For instance, John, if you're looking for an ISCA or an IS tool recognized one, you'd be looking for EN 15804 under that standard column there. Or you can just search for published product health declarations. Search by LCA rate, search by green rate. A product page will come up. When you actually get to the product page, there's 2 sections to a product page. You get the tags down the right-hand side and the scorecards. You can download a certificate without going any further, or you can go to the next page, which is the professionals page, and get access to things like the EPD and PhD downloads. You can also see on that page all of the rating tool credits that that product is recognized for. On top of that, on the Get Certified section of the web page, you can find our top 30 frequently asked questions if you need to remind yourselves at any stage what rating system means or how it integrates with different rating tools or whatever. There's also other things like specific brochures that I've been showing you in this presentation also on the website there as well. So.
Thanks, David. I'm just wonder if there's anyone got any questions at this stage.
Yeah,
I've got one. I just want,
you go, Deb.
sorry. I just wanted to know what an asthmagen assessment is. Never heard of that before.
Okay, well, basically an asthmagen assessment is looking at the product for chemicals which are known asthma triggers.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we now have a relationship with the American Occupational Health Association in the US, and every quarter they publish an updated list of asthmagens, and when requested we can screen the ingredients of products for known asthmagens and give it a rating or give it a tick, or say it's asthma friendly.
Great.
Not.
Thank you, David.
David, I've got a few questions, but maybe if I have a chat with you offline after this. John may have mentioned our online scheduling system, Easy Spec. So we've got a couple of thousand products on there, which we try and tag for architects if they're green, or if they're suitable for Green Star targeted projects and so forth. But I'll have a chat to you separately about that one. But in terms of manufacturers and products that are on there, which ones are on there? Is it the ones that the manufacturer pays you to assess, or do you do a broad sweep in the market of different products? How does that work?
No, look, this is a highly detailed process, and there's no way we could afford to just do stuff unilaterally. The manufacturers pay us to do the assessments. Before we do that assessment, they provide us a full list of ingredients. We do a pre-scan to make sure they won't fail at the first post, and if we're happy that they can at least go through the process, we'll issue a proposal. They pay 100% of the fees upfront in advance before we lift a finger, so there can never be any indication that they can hold non-payment of fees over us to achieve any particular outcomes.
Okay, that's fair enough. And what so like I said, in our scheduling system we'd have a little tag there to say if it's green at the moment. I'm just wondering if it could be integrated, what you provide, because I notice your tags are good, very good, excellent, world leading. Does that mean if they get a tag like that, is there a correlation with Green Star or Leeds or Well? Like if it gets a bronze rating, does that mean it would automatically qualify for a Green Star rated 6-star, 5-star, 4.5-star project?
As I said in the presentation, the certification system that's recognised by Green Star is Green Rate. So that's level A, B, and C for 100%, 75%, or 50% of the credit points.
Yep.
At this stage, Green Star doesn't recognise LCA rate, and the schemes that do recognise it like EarthCheck, recognise all of the different levels at the same level, because they're not really kind of sophisticated enough to be willing to advocate different levels for each of the bronze, silver, gold, or platinum at this point. There is only one rating system in the world that actually does that. Believe it or not, it's Lotus in Vietnam.
All right, okay. Because if we got the green, the other thing that architects are interested in at the moment and they're chatting with us about is carbon net neutral, so the carbon rate. And recently is the modern slavery declaration. Right. So we'd probably be looking forward to say, if we can give a carbon rate or a indicator of your logo or something against it to show that it has a score or whatever. So it helps the architect make a decision based on that. So it'd be good to integrate some of that sort of information with it if we can.
Yeah, well, let's talk offline to see how we might be able to facilitate that. At the moment, there are a couple of websites that we're swapping spreadsheet data with, where COVID has kind of put our API, our US data side is API connected to those US and Asian data hubs, but at this point, our Australian platform is on a slightly older version, which isn't API connectable. So we've got a project underway, but we're kind of, it's on hold because of COVID, basically.
All right, thanks, David.
David, are your clients wholly and solely certification of manufacturers' products, or do you consult with design teams as well to try and lead them through the process of achieving various certifications?
Up until last year, we were also doing the consulting work, but in fact, last year we sold that business to the manager who'd been working with us for the previous 10 years. So, those services exist, but not from within us. No, we're actually only working with products at the moment.
So that would be an ESD consultant's role, as opposed to,
Correct.
fair enough. Cool, thanks.
David, also, I use your website a fair bit to research products. Off the back of what Will was saying, it'll be nice to get that data into our database as well, so we can inform the architect, especially in a lot of these infrastructure projects that we're involved in. We constantly get asked, about Green Star compliance and what sort of data we've got, and we just got to go and hunt around, ask manufacturers. So if there's a good single point of reference that we can use, that'll be great. But I mean, is there a list of manufacturers that you can send us that you can indicate to us? Okay, well, the 50 or 100 of these manufacturers have gone through the process, and then we can start to look at adding in that data.
Yeah. So if you where are we? And just take you to the website. Are you seeing that now?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Well, look, the main thing is, yes, the browse. If you on the front page of the website, if you browse manufacturers, it gives you an A to Z listing of all the manufacturers that are certified.
Okay.
Just understand though, is we don't certify manufacturers. We certify
just
products.
Yeah.
So you need to click on the manufacturer's name, and all of the products that we certify for that manufacturer will come up.
Yeah.
Like, say with Laminex, you'd be hard to find a Laminex product that we don't certify. But in other instances, we might only, certify one product or two products where the manufacturer's been asked for it.
And I've got a couple of sort of minor queries. You were saying as part of your assessments, you test your toxicity levels. So when you say toxicity levels, does that mean that you're assessing in terms of raw material and then composing that raw material to make a composite material, or are you looking at it or assessing it from a destruction point of view? So if you've got, like a chemical spill or A good one will be fire, for instance. So if there's a fire at flash point, do you measure the emissions and the type of emissions that come from that material?
No, we're not looking at the fire implications of the product. We are on the. Can you see that PhD on the screen now?
Yep.
Okay. So you see the 3 color radar strips there. The top one is representation of the ingredient hazards. The middle one is effectively the worker exposure to hazards. And the end one is the end user exposure to hazards. So each of them, the top one is in the format required by the rating tools, so well and lead. The others are basically for worker and end user information. So, and if you want to understand the difference between each of those stages, then you just basically just go to the next series of pages and look in the comments section, and it will explain to you why an ingredient might appear as red, then at a worker level go to yellow, and at an end of use go to green, because you had 2, for instance, toxic monomer products which were then generating potential risk for workers, which we'd looked at and minimized and could see had been minimized. Because there was, for instance, solid line delivery and workers weren't involved in handling the products at any stage. And it was a sealed environment in which it was mixed, vented to a chemical filter system. So we kind of look at the risk analysis process for the workers. And then when you combine those 2 monomers together, they form a completely benign polymer. If there was any chance of residual monomer still being in the product, we would test for the residual monomer in the final product and then give it an all clear green. Right. So that's the kind of process that we would go through. We'd look at any risks that might be residual from the manufacturing process, determine that those risks were eliminated, and then give the product an all green and explain all that in simple language in the right-hand comments column.
Yeah, okay. And my final one is just about durability. So when you guys are testing, say for instance your life cycle assessments, a lot of these infrastructure projects, they look at we under the Green Star rating, we want a low VOC with an innovation point, which carries different implications. And they target those points. But then when you sort of go into that, like a material, for instance, and to try and achieve those points, we quite often come to the conclusion that durability is compromised within the in terms of the material itself, which means that there's a knock-on effect where that material fails in its life cycle, and therefore you've got to replace it again. You've got manual labor coming in to install it again. So it's essentially double handling, I suppose, and double the impact when you're trying to save when you're trying to reach that ESD criteria at the start, but when you're looking at from a future, down the line, it's actually the impact is doubled. It
is. Look, we do what we can to try and figure those sorts of things out. And
sorry, David, can I just interrupt now? And an hour's up. I suggest that people who need to go to work can leave now. And I'd like to thank you on their behalf before they leave. Asanka's question and anyone else who's got any further questions, I think we should just stick around and extend the discussion a bit more as we need to. So so on behalf of those people who have to leave now, thanks very much, David. I think you've opened a lot of doors for us and given us access to information that we've been looking for. Hopefully this will lead to more interaction in the future. So
Thanks. You're welcome.
thanks.
Thank you, David.
Thanks
Thanks,
you.
Rob.
Thanks,
Thank
David.
you.
Thank you.
Sorry. So